Welcome to the Growth Boss podcast, where we seek out the secrets to high-performing campaigns from some of the smartest marketers in the world. I'm your host, Jared Smith. Today, I have Vivien with me, and she's going to teach us how she niched down her agency to grow her business and improve her quality of life. Regardless of what kind of business you have, these tips are going to help you because they're going to help you dial in your focus within your business. Vivien, thanks for being here today.
Thank you very much. That was a lovely introduction.
Awesome. So for people who may not know you yet, can you give us maybe just a quick 60-second overview of your background?
So I started in marketing and public relations. I also did journalism and events. So I've done quite a broad range of different types of marketing departments, and I've worked with other companies helping them launch. During the past 4 years, I've worked with small businesses, helping them with their copywriting and launching their products and setting up their websites. And recently, in the past 2 years, I've been working and training B2B communication teams.
Okay. Fantastic overview. So let's start with kind of the before. You were managing small business for marketing for small businesses. Now, talk to me. Was that all digital or was it digital and offline? Kind of what was the suite of services you were providing before?
So strangely enough, I actually had such a very broad kind of range. So it was quite in person, bricks and mortars as well. So going in, at the time, I thought I had this perfect background about customer loyalty. And so I would go in and tell people, this is how you keep your customers happy. And I thought that was great because it meant that they were stepping up in their businesses, talking to their customers more and not just seeing it as a one-time purchase. So I was trying to teach those small businesses how to keep their customers. And so that was kind of my marketing background, doing rewards, trying to get newsletters, subscribers, and yeah, trying to build their customer base for their making it easier for them to make the sale.
Yeah. And how was that going? Meaning, was it a profitable venture? Was it enjoyable or?
Hard. It
Okay.
was very hard, especially afterwards because like I said, the COVID and pandemic hit,
Yeah.
and a lot of people were indoors and trying to do it themselves. I think with most marketers, we kind of felt that kind of bite with us because people were learning things off YouTube, which they do, off social media, and they pretty much don't need our help in
Yeah.
that kind of range. And so I found that a lot of the clients that I had were, like I said, trying to figure it out themselves, put me on hold. And so me trying to teach customer loyalty right there felt a bit of a hypocrite kind of thing because I wasn't
Sure.
having customers who were loyal to me in that way. But yeah, it was hard. I have to admit that like as a skill set, it was something that I thought that I wouldn't have to retrain in or learn something new. But with social media coming out, I had to relearn everything for myself.
Yeah. And what was there a specific defining moment that led you to say, okay, I've got to do something new, or was this just kind of gradual within the pandemic?
I think it's through the pandemic as well, but I
Yeah.
think also it was something that I really wanted to kind of focus on something that would make me happy
Mm.
rather than try to do everything for everybody else. And then, like I said, I felt like I was chasing clients, and it got to a point where every client was always pushing back on sales and pushing back on price. And I just felt really kind of tired of having to try and prove myself each time. And I think most of us know what it's like to jump through hoops to try and get projects. You know, they ask you for one thing, they ask you to rewrite something, and then you do that and they say, nope, let's start all over again. So I kind of got tired of doing that. And so I wanted something that I could say, it's done.
Yeah,
You know, I'm happy
exactly.
with that. And I could just push it aside and say, this is how you should be doing your marketing. And
Yep.
so I started posting content on social media about that. And it was really quite eye-opening for me
Mm.
that I had this followers who actually appreciated what I was writing and teaching them.
So you knew, it sounds like, okay, I need to do something different. Your background is copywriting, or at least you are a really good copywriter. How did you determine to get into the niche that you're in now? Because for me, when we were talking kind of on the pre-show, I was really surprised. Like, it's really niched down. It's not like, hey, I was doing all marketing and now I'm just doing copywriting or I'm just doing SEO. Like, you niched down, and we're going to talk about specifically what you niched down to in a minute. But how did you get to that process where you're like, okay, here's all the different things that I could do, but what I really want to do is this? How did you make that list?
I think from just so what I tend to do, I'm this type of person who will say, I think I can do it all. I'm
Yeah,
that kind
yeah.
somebody says to me, "Can you bake a cake?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can do that. I
Uh,
can't," but like people would say that to me, and so I went into marketing thinking, "Yeah, I can write press releases. I can do all these things,"
mm,
and I taught myself those things on the job. And then what happens is I slowly kind of made a list of things like I don't actually enjoy doing this and
yeah.
crossing it off. So for me, it started off like this really long list. And people would come to me and say, "Can you help me with this?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I can do that. I can do website copy. That's fine." And I would do it, enjoy it for the moment, and then I'd be like, "Oh, okay, then that's it. There's no
Yeah.
more follow-up. I don't know if it really works in that way. I'm
Yep.
sure it does because all these people are still in business and stuff, but I'm just kind of like, it's a very much done, you kind of dust the hands off and you walk on." And so that's kind of where I was. I just had this long list and I started just crossing off things I didn't enjoy
Yeah.
to the point that when somebody came up to me and said, "Can you do this?" And I got invited to talk on a online international conference for copywriters and creatives. And I'm like, I really enjoyed this.
Mm,
I'm pretty good. I've done speeches and I've done presentations before. And so I'm like, yeah, this is quite easy. And so I started leaning into that a bit more and helping people with presentations and pitches. And so I came to some nonprofits. I always think everybody in the world should always work at least once with a nonprofit because it opens your eyes to the challenges that they face.
yeah.
These are people who are obviously doing great work for the communities and things, but they need help. And they are so appreciative of any help you can give them. So I was helping people with their pitches, their investment, when they go in and asking investments, their elevator pitch and stuff. And I'm like, this is how you present, this is how you do your slides. This is how you keep people's attention for, 20 minutes when you're talking to them, because people will switch off otherwise.
Right.
And I really enjoyed this. So from the list of things I didn't like, I made a list of things I really enjoyed and things I thought that I could work harder on. And that's kind of how I progressed from where I was before to where I
Yeah.
am.
I love it. I love it. When I was growing up, one of the things my dad told me was that you can't do something that you enjoy and make money. You can either do something you enjoy and not make a lot of money, or do something you don't enjoy and make a lot of money. And today, that simply isn't true. And in fact, I would say, and I'm sure my dad would agree now, that the only way to be great is to love what you do, because in this day and age with the internet, I mean, there's a million things you can do. It really just depends on like, what do you actually enjoy doing, and then become kind of the best in the world at that, become world class, and then you can charge, top dollar for your services.
Exactly. I think that is the key, right? It's finding what you really enjoy, and then people see that passion. Because if you're constantly writing things about stuff that you don't enjoy,
Yeah.
people notice that. And if you're
Yeah.
going into work and just ticking that box, people notice that as well. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So tell the audience what exactly you've decided to do and how that's been going.
So I niche down to be someone who trains B2B in the ways. I'm going to start again because this is not a great pitch for me. I'm going to say, so I help train in-house B2B communication teams to write like a B2C copywriter,
Okay.
because I found that with these businesses that they write very corporate, very formal, and most of the engagement that they get from their content is very, very limited or very small. And so I literally started writing posts about, you really need to stop writing those things. Nobody reads that. And people were agreeing. People were nodding their heads along with what I was writing.
Yeah.
And so I said, I can help you take what I know about B2C copywriting and give it to you, and you can see where those two match. Because obviously B2B is very different in ways that they do need to write about features, they do need to
Yeah.
write technical, they do need to write about, quite a broad range of audience. They can't just focus on one person. So they have all those different things from B2C. But there's also this overlap where people want that emotional connection. They like reading stories. They like people to write things that they've learned about
Mhm.
and how it will help their customers. So those are the kind of things that I teach now. So yeah,
That-
moved away from doing website copywriting for
Yeah.
small businesses, and now I train global B2B companies.
Incredible. And do most of your clients find you on X or on other social media platforms, or how do you find clients?
So most of my people will come through either LinkedIn or some networking
Okay.
that I do. And what they do normally, a lot of them I've noticed have signed up for my newsletter.
Hmm.
So those people who say newsletters are dead, I don't know, maybe they could be, but for me,
Yeah.
it's quite profitable for me. I was saying that it takes about 4 to 5 issues of my newsletter before someone gives a query about what I'm
Okay.
doing and how I can help them. And then from there, probably a month later, they will actually sign up as a client. So as soon as they give the initial contact. So I have people on my subscriber list who's been there for like 2, 3 years,
Yeah.
and they're very quiet, but they will open up the newsletter issue and they would send me emails saying, I read this one and I agree with this kind of thing. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can work
Absolutely.
for me. Yeah.
And how frequently do you send your newsletter out?
Once a week,
Mm.
every Wednesday at 12 o'clock UK if I'm not doing something else, because sometimes I'm in Singapore, so it's like 8 p.m.
Yeah.
my time, and then it's like crazy time. So I have to schedule it beforehand. And then I'm constantly kind of rethinking, is this enough? And so what I do is I do kind of like a short newsletter, and then the week later I will fill it up with more to make a blog post and then
Yeah.
send that out again to
Yeah.
subscribers. Yeah.
And just offering tips and stuff in there on, again, exactly probably things that you talk to your customers about on a daily basis.
Yeah, so normally it's any questions that people have. So recently,
I love that.
the last one, yeah, so the last one that I trained recently, I normally give them what I call 5 brain hacks, like some kind of way that they can help get their copywriting to connect with their audience quicker. And so something like recently I talked about the pratfall effect, where making a little mistake actually endears you to your audience. And I don't mean, catastrophe kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
CrowdStrike really just blew up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but even that, if you apologize and you handle it well, so like coming from a public relations background, it's very much like you kind of grit your teeth and go, don't don't admit anything, don't say anything,
Mm,
act perfect kind of thing. But
mm,
really, that's not the way to do it. Like
yeah.
if you actually say, yes, we made a mistake, we take ownership of this, but we're trying to rectify it, then people actually forgive you a lot quicker. So
Yeah.
it's things like that. So from me having a talk with the team that I was talking to, I put that into my newsletter, and people started saying, well, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you're making more money. You have a better quality of life. What would you tell to people that are kind of on the fence and, they are making enough to cover their bills? They're like, hey, I don't enjoy what I'm doing, but at the same time, I'm a little bit afraid to make that switch.
Oh, that's a tough one. I that's a very I mean, I love what I do. I can't imagine going back to what I was doing before,
Yeah.
but I can imagine myself moving forward with other things. Like I'm constantly having that list where I juggle things.
Yeah.
So I think for people, I would say sit down and really consider. Like I had a job on the side while I was doing the small business thing, just because it was something that I could do in my free time, and I wasn't taking it didn't take me too long to write somebody's website copy. So I would say learn as much skills that you can from whatever you want to focus on afterwards. Try and make sure it's a skill that people value,
Mm,
really. So if you're stuck like an accountant and you might hate your job kind of thing, people they might want you to teach them how to do spreadsheets. I don't know,
yeah.
taxes, those kind of things. You can still use your knowledge that you're gaining from the job that you have now
Yep.
for your future. So yeah, before you just before you quit and slam the door,
Yeah.
really consider what skills you're taking away from your job now.
Love it. And the other thing that, I would encourage people to do is to start making content on these social platforms. As you mentioned, you get a lot of business from LinkedIn, and the algorithms on all of these platforms are so good. If you just start writing about what you want to attract, in your case, you're writing to global corporations that want to improve, how they communicate to their customers. If you start writing about that, the algorithms are going to do a great job of finding people that are interested in that. And, I'm not sure I could say that was the case a year or two ago as much as it is today. So just start writing about it and hopefully, have a smooth transition to whatever that next venture is going to be. And, maybe even have a lineup of clients that are ready to roll with you.
Definitely. Yeah. Social media has opened, I think, leveled the playing field. We don't have to write big adverts anymore. We don't have to have this huge budget. So if people like me who were just kind of sitting back and thinking, what can I do in my spare time? Or, what can I fill those gaps with? It's great. Yeah. It's definitely start posting your thoughts. I would also say start what I call curating knowledge is a good way to start. So when I first started, I just started wanting to learn from everybody and And then I found out, I'm not a social media marketer.
Yeah,
So all
sure.
the stuff that I was learning, I was trying to, when you try and repeat what other people say, it doesn't seem authentic enough. So I really wanted to say, find your own voice, find what makes you passionate about something, and tap into that a lot more than trying to copy somebody else's.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's because people notice that when you're just
they do.
regurgitating other people's thoughts. Yeah.
They do notice it. And the other thing too that I've thought about is I've, started to build my own audience and following is it's harder to maintain, your creative flow if you're trying to be somebody else, right? Like the key to success with us on social media is to be consistent, right? You got to do this, on a regular cadence. And if you're trying to be somebody else, that gets weary fast, right? But if you're just going to be yourself, hey, I could be myself and shoot a couple videos, a couple times a week. So it's just it makes things a lot easier for you.
I think also like just copying other people, unless you are positioning your business as I'm cheaper than, whoever the
Yeah,
top person is, then yes, that's something you could, focus on. But if you're positioning yourself as somebody who is a little bit different, or you want your own kind of customers coming in, then yeah, you have to make sure that what you're writing isn't just repeating, the top people saying this, especially with social media. I see it all the time. A lot of people will say, post this and then it will get traction and it will go viral.
yeah,
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it's kind of that whole, you need to make sure that what you're posting is consistent, like you said. Yeah. People are expecting that from you. Don't go off topic. I try
yeah,
and stay not political or those kind of things.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
really have to kind of go, oh, bite your tongue on
Yeah.
these something because you want to post a comment. But yeah, you got to kind of, as being someone who you're concentrating on your own brand, you have to make sure you're definitely staying on track and consistent with that
Yeah.
message.
That's awesome. So one of the questions I like to ask is I call the top 1% question. And so for your niche, it would be, what do you feel the top 1% of your clients do that the rest of them don't do when as it relates to, writing for customers? So think about, okay, here's like my favorite client, and they're my favorite client because they do XYZ in communicating with their customers really, really well. It's like they get it when you feel like maybe some clients don't. What is that? Maybe one or two things that you feel like differentiate the best B2B, companies that communicate with their clients from everybody else.
So something that I found was a lot of the ones that come to me, and it's something that I find really quite precious to me myself, is they would come to me and say, I want our team to write like you. And I'm
Mm.
like, that is like a compliment
Yeah,
beyond a
huge.
compliment, right? Like, yeah. And so for me, it's those that I don't have to try and convince them to change, that they're ready. And I think it's that process. We always kind of want our clients or customers to go, yes, straight away. But sometimes they don't because they have to go through all these other kind of learning processes. They will try and do it themselves. They will kind of bash their heads against management to a point where they're like, this is it, I can't take it anymore. And then I kind of step in,
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier for me. And so those are the clients that have figured it out all along that it's not working and they know the reason why it's not working. And then they suddenly say, I want to write how you write because I read, your newsletter from start to end, that kind of thing. I want our clients
Mm.
to feel that they can write for their audience exactly the same way. And that's how they turn to me. They go, somebody said to me, oh, I really like your newsletter because it's what we call snackable. Like it's
Mm.
not such a long read, but I get so much out of it that I feel like I've learned something this week that I can pass on to somebody else. And when somebody says that to me as a client, I'm like, you're ready.
Yeah.
You're ready to move to the next step
Yeah.
and teach your team how to write like this now. And it means that when I do teach them, none of them are like, yeah, we're not sure about this. They actually are nodding along and saying, yes, this is something we can implement. So for me, that type of client is my ideal client because I don't have to try and persuade them to
Yeah.
change. They're ready. They're just wanting to learn a bit more. And so they can implement what I'm going to teach them. So
I
yeah,
love it.
that's my ideal client.
I
Yeah.
love it. Awesome. So Vivien, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wise advice with our audience. If people want to learn a little bit more about you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
So I'm on Twitter and I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn, Twitter, I do have a website which is fromvivien
Okay.
.com. You can get me there. I'm happy for people to sign up for my newsletter and message me from that as well, from my email. I was going to say there's one thing I was just something in the back of my head that I was thinking
Yeah.
of as a copywriter. It's something I wanted to instill as a bit of wisdom. When
Yeah.
you finish writing, I always say to my clients, is it something that you're happy to put your name to that piece?
Mm,
And is it in the tone that you would want to speak in? And you know, and that's kind of why I came up with the name from Vivien. It was this whole idea that I wanted to put my name on something that
mm,
I was happy that it was me. And so when I teach people, I'm like, well, would you be happy to sign your name on that? And if they go yes, then I'm like, then publish it.
yeah.
So that's always my take on everything. On social media, if you're happy with it, if you've read through it and you can say, yes, I can sign my name on that one and be proud of it, then as a writer,
Mm.
that's kind of like, yeah, you've done your job.
Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining today. And I would encourage everybody to check out Vivien's work and also like and subscribe the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much.